we will now call the Beaufort County Board of Education Legislative Committee meeting of May 19th, 2022 to order. We have two committee members present thus far, Tricia Fidrich and myself. There are 4 on this committee, so we do not have a quorum, but so that means we can do items that we are kind of routine, such as the Pledge of Allegiance. I really shouldn't call that routine because it's not routine. So let's do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Do you want me to go ahead and go to public comments?
Yes, that sounds good.
Because
And
we don't have to, you don't have to do a motion or anything for that.
exactly.
So
That sounds
public
good.
comments is David Cook.
Okay,
So,
so you can call him.
yes. Rachel says she'll be on in 1 second.
Perfect.
And let me call David. Hello, David. I'm calling you for public comments.
Oh, hey, how are you? I didn't recognize the number.
Yes. So you'll have, I'm putting you on speaker and you'll have 3 minutes. You can begin now.
Okay, thank you.
Can you all hear him?
Mm-hmm. Now we can't. I can't.
Okay.
I did
Thank
when
you
you were
very
talking
much.
to him.
I appreciate it. I'm not sure if this is relevant or not. It's being a legislative committee. I just wanted to get a chance to discuss amongst yourselves. I haven't heard anything back or seen anything in regards to a comprehensive health education advisory committee being formed, which is required by under Aaron's law. I don't know if that's legislative or not. I've inquired also with the district several times in regards to who was in attendance during the joint board SIC meeting on March 10th, and I haven't heard back from district staff. Under the Open Meetings Act, I believe that was supposed to be made public, and the public was never notified if there was more than 6 board members present. And regarding the laws that protect our children in schools, my son was recently denied his right to contact his parents when he was at school. And I am kind of looking for a little bit of guidance from district staff, but the school's been unresponsive as to what the policy is, and there's no policy district-wide. So I know you discuss things amongst each other via email or sometimes in committee meetings, but it's just some questions that I had that maybe need to be addressed. And but thanks again for your time. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
All right. We now have a quorum, so we can now have a motion to approve the agenda.
Wait a minute. Let me go.
How about Rachel or, okay, Tricia, go ahead.
Yep. I move that we approve the agenda for the Legislative Committee on May 19th.
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 So the agenda is approved 3-0 with Angela Middleton absent.
Okay,
All right, so can you put the agenda back up, Robin?
you have to go back and,
Yeah, I know you do.
there you go.
Thank you, perfect. So next up is the approval of the March 29 committee meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the March 29, 2022 committee meeting minutes.
I second.
Okay. And the only suggestion I had on these minutes is on page 2, under where Ingrid Boatwright suggested the topic of OSF issues. I think it would help if that was written out, Office of School Facilities.
Okay,
So with that, I guess I'll say modification or amendment. You see where that is exactly? You've got it. So just write out what office, that it's Office of School Facilities. Any other comments or amendments or changes?
No, ma'am.
Tricia?
Now, I just noticed, I can't even find it right now because I don't have my other computer open, but I think that there was then should have been spelled THAN. I mean, it's little, it's a minor thing, but
where
I
are you?
know. I read it earlier, Robin.
Okay.
You were comparing two things. Never mind. I mean, it's so small.
I'll find it. It should be there. I have THEN instead of the THAN.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll find it and correct it.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. So with those two corrections, please say aye if you approve these committee meeting minutes. Aye.
Aye.
I
Okay, thank you. All right, next up,
Motion to accept with corrections.
right.
Okay.
All right, next we have our main discussion topic for today, and that is legislative proposals that we can discuss now, and then we'll develop and bring to the board at our first meeting in June, so they can then be submitted to the School Boards Association by their deadline of June 13th. So these are the same two documents that we had from our board meeting earlier this week. And if I can get into my,
You want the resolutions up first or the Constitution?
I personally don't have any changes to suggest on the Constitution. Do Tricia or Rachel?
I do not.
Not at this time.
Okay, perfect. So we'll dispose of that and go to the, yes, put the legislative resolutions in that front page there. So this is the resolutions that the School Boards Association is going to bring forward to the delegate assembly in December, and the members representing each school district at that assembly will end up voting on these resolutions. So I don't think there's much for us to do on this document. You know, this is what they're going to bring forward. I suspect that this was actually developed maybe a month or so ago or 2 months ago. I'm not positive. So the one that the board had suggested doing, I'm going to go find something I wrote. So the board on Tuesday night, we had suggested leveling the playing field, as David put it, for teacher hiring between the traditional public schools and the charter schools. So I just wrote up something, and we don't have to use this, but this, I think, was kind of the idea behind it. And I have, due to the national and statewide teacher shortage And since South Carolina charter and traditional public schools are seeking teachers from the same candidate pool, the Beaufort County School Board supports leveling the playing field for teacher hiring. Traditional public schools should be afforded the same opportunity as charter schools to employ non-certified teachers in a ratio of up to 25% of their entire teaching staff. And this is in the document that Robin's got displayed there. It's letter H. These are assurances charter schools have to sign off on in our state. It also says that all teachers in the core academic areas will be highly qualified as defined in the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which is South Carolina Code 594055, and that's in there. So let me go back into. Was this, would you concur, or do you have other comments to make, Tricia or Rachel?
No, ma'am.
I think that captures exactly what we had discussed the other night and the sentiment that has been bubbling up over the past few months about this.
Exactly. So I know Wendy today, and she's on our Zoom call, and Jillian is, checked with the School Boards Association about this topic. So Wendy, would you like to give some comments?
Sure.
Okay.
So this morning Jill and I were doing some research, and we saw that there was a bill, H 3590, that was the House bill, and the same bill was in the Senate. And that bill stated to add a section to the statute to allow public school districts to hire non-certified teachers for any schools and career technology centers that have vacant teaching positions. And this proposed bill said 5 business days before the beginning of school, and to provide that non-certified teachers may comprise no more than 25% of the entire teaching staff of a school or career and technology center. And at the bottom of the page where it lists the action on the committee on both the House and Senate, it said that they were put into the conference committee, and I couldn't find any place where this bill had passed. So I called up Debbie Elmore just to check with her to make sure that we didn't miss something. And she said that it actually, this bill, did not pass at this time. So when we were on the phone, and we put into board docs for all of you that in both the House and Senate budgets for 2022-2023 school year, it is for 1 year only, but there is a proviso 1.99 that allows for school districts to hire non-certified teachers in critical need geographic areas and subject areas if a certified teacher is not available to teach in those areas. And this proviso states that all non-certified teachers must possess baccalaureate degrees or graduate degrees from regionally accredited college or universities in the subject they are hired to teach. And then it lists requirements that you would have for certified teacher. Districts must require that all non-certified teachers undergo the background check, lists the statute for that. And then it talks about what is not, non-certified teacher does not include applicants who are meeting eligibility requirements for career and technology work. And then the districts have to provide the Department of Ed with the name of non-certified teachers, the school where the teacher is employed, the subject area in which the teacher has been hired to teach. A district that terminates a registered non-certified teacher from employment shall notify the department of the termination, the reason, with 10 days after the termination. And then an educator whose South Carolina educator certificate has been suspended or revoked, other than for breach of contract, shall not be employed as a non-certified teacher. And then if a non-certified teacher commits an offense covered by the Code of Conduct promulgated by the State Board of Education, then the State Board of Education could revoke the educators. It's called a registration. So this particular proviso is going to be in effect for next year. And we've got included in there, we looked it up, what is a critical need subject area? And we've listed those that we got off the Department of Ed website for the 2021-2022 school year. but, the important thing here is this only applies if we do not have a certified teacher to work in that area. And Debbie and I were talking about, proposed legislation moving forward. And she was saying that the most important thing that needs to be done by the school boards and their lobbying is to improve incentives and to try to get educators who are certified into our schools. And she was saying she didn't think that it would be a good idea, to have non-certified teachers permanently. But the charter schools have 25%, so we should be allowed to have 25% too. And I did want to mention this because I was over at Riverview for the lottery a few weeks ago, and I was talking with Rob Bechtel, their director, about educators, and he was telling me that they have hired a teacher that I believe was like a prior engineer, whatever, and that he's a wonderful teacher and that the students just love him. So he thinks it's fantastic to have those type of individuals teaching in the school. So there have been great successes in some of the private schools where non-certified teachers have taught. So there are pros and cons to both of it. But I just wanted y'all to be aware about this proviso because I honestly did not know about it until today. So I thought you all would want to see what the situation was. And this proviso will go into effect as soon as the budget passes. But that doesn't mean it's going to pass by the end of June because the House and Senate are very far apart in the amount of the budget. So about the tax cuts. So, but this is, so for next year, we do have non-certified teacher hiring. So that was my update for you all.
Thank you, Wendy, very much. So,
Oh, yes.
so this is just for 1 year, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
They could they could renew it the next year, but right now it's just for the next school year.
Right.
So
I'd love to hear what Tricia and Rachel think. My just quickly off the top of my head, I still think we could advocate, for having this so that we're equivalent to or at the same playing field as the.
David's hands up.
Okay, hold on a second. I gotta get rid of this call. Sorry. All right. David.
Thank you. A proviso is not what we're looking for.
No.
We want something permanent.
Right.
So I think what you wrote up should stand. I think that we should push for that to get that in there. I'm not sure if I understood Debbie's position on it, but I think our position is clear. We don't want a proviso. We want it to be permanent.
Right.
yes.
And another thing I can say from past years, I don't think the wording of our legislative proposal has to be, final, because, once we send it to the South Carolina School Boards Association, it's their board of directors that are going to wordsmith it and then ultimately determine what the wording will be that they'll bring forward if they approve it. And then ultimately it's the General Assembly, the members from the different school districts that will vote on it in December. So I don't, just so long as we convey, what our wish is or desire or what we want in the wording, I think the rest of that is going to be modified perhaps by them.
Yeah.
It has been in the past. They've modified them. So.
Yeah, Tina, my thoughts are just right along with David's, that this temporary proviso does not alter our desire to have a permanent solution.
Right.
So I say we charge forth with suggesting to add this to the school board's resolutions.
Okay. And how do you feel, Rachel?
I was going to say, I agree with that. And I don't know if the reason, it seems that I've seen before in past practice that, there's been the use of provisos prior to enacting things as permanent. It's almost like a testing period and a tweaking period. So I do agree that we are looking for something permanent. And so perhaps indicating our support towards the proviso, but also saying we believe that this needs to be a permanent solution.
Sounds good.
Mhm.
Wendy, do you want to,
Yes, I just wanted to comment to you all that if you look at this H3590, this bill, I think this bill's got a really good chance of passing next year. And this is the one that allows for school districts to hire uncertified up to 25%. So y'all might want to take a look at that and see if you,
okay,
like what the proposed bill says, and, encourage the passing of this type of legislation. It would also have a pilot program too, to, I guess, to, help the non-certified people coming in. Because under the proposed legislation, the pilot program would have training to help the non-certified teachers be prepared to enter the classroom. So, but they would also eventually be in a certification program, some type of alternative. But I thought this bill allowing 25%, I think it's appropriate and fair and equitable for districts to be allowed to do that. So I hope it does pass.
thank you, Wendy.
Thank you.
So I see Earl has joined us. Do you have any comments, Earl? Would you like to add anything?
No, I think that y'all cover everything. I think that you also have spoken to our lobbyists, right? Concerning the issues that we have.
Yes, and well, I contacted her, I don't know, maybe a week ago, because I wanted to see what her input, what she thought, being our lobbyist, might be good for the legislative proposals.
Okay.
And the two things she mentioned were the funding formula, which is still in play, and then the other one was alternatives to teacher certification. And we've kind of, I guess, gone down the path of, what about us, we've had discussions, what about us having the same advantage that the charter schools have? Exactly. We're all competing for the same candidates to teach. So why should it be different for them? I don't understand why it would be different for them personally, but I'm not an educator, so maybe, do you see the logic in that, Tricia?
No, I really don't. I think it allows charter schools more flexibility, which I think benefits them. So no, I don't see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we have other, do the committee members have any other proposals they'd like to bring forward or have us develop and then bring to the board for a vote? Tricia or Rachel?
Go ahead, Rachel. Go ahead.
The only other one that I really was thinking would be beneficial, but they kind of touch on it with the impact fee, would be facilities funding. I know that there is certain special facilities funding, I think, that's allocated in the budget each year. I'm not sure what that number even is right now in South Carolina, and I think you have to apply for it in a specific way. So I don't know if it's necessarily something we want to tackle this year or put on the radar for next year, but they do mention impact fees, which I do think is beneficial.
Yes, Rachel, I concur, and I'll read what they is in the 2022 resolution handbook, because I got it open here. For impact fees, they say SCSBA believes public schools should be authorized to levy the impact fees on new home and commercial development. And I think that's pretty strong statement. And I would concur with it. And I gather you would as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So how about you, Tricia?
No, I thought that this packet of resolutions that they're suggesting, that bringing forth, is fairly comprehensive and fairly in line with, what we are thinking. The only question I had about it is, you know, I was thinking about 4-year-olds, you know, pre-K. And I think that was one of our, you know, we were very interested in that last year. And as I was going through this, I was wondering if that is something that we want to continue to push forward. I don't remember the wording on how we said it last year, but I thought I remembered that we had that included. Do you remember, Robin or Tina?
Yeah, I think I do. I don't think we sent it as,
Yes.
do you remember, Robin? I don't think we sent it as a resolution.
We didn't send it as a resolution, but that is on our legislative agenda.
Yeah. And I have that, but I don't have, I have that in my files here at home, but I don't.
I have it on the website. I can, if give me a second and go and pull it up off the
Okay.
website, because that's where we had posted our legislative agenda. Give me a second.
So I don't know if that is something that, you know, we want to bring forward as a suggestion to add to the resolutions. I just don't want it to fall out of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, it's kind of slow.
I can probably find mine pretty quickly too. All right. Yeah, last year, I have the letter here. We submitted to the School Boards Association in early June. The
We have school start time.
oh, okay, you're looking at a different document than I am.
Oh,
Okay.
This
That's
is the
okay.
one that's on our website that we sent to the delegation of January of 2020.
Mhm.
So we have school start date, teacher salaries.
Yeah.
Fully fund state mandates, SRO mental health initiative, education funding and state funding for full day pre-kindergarten for economically disadvantaged students.
Yep, and then what we submitted for a resolution last year was better compensation for our educators. That's basically it.
Okay,
Yeah. And to increase the number of steps on the state minimum salary schedule to 28 years by annually funding the additional steps for the 5 years beyond the existing 23rd step.
Mhm.
But they did not accept this last year. And Debbie Elmore called me and said, one of the reasons why they didn't accept it was because they felt a lot of the other school districts, the financial burden of increasing it to 28 years would be a lot of the other school districts could not meet that. It would be something that they would have to fund, you know, the local school districts. It would not be a state funded
right.
change. But now in Beaufort County, aren't we up to 26?
Mhm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're getting there.
Well, so maybe we don't want to add, you know, the pre-K to the resolution, but maybe we need to update this letter. Robin, what'd you say the date was on this letter?
January of 2020.
Right, so maybe we need the official, we need to update it and continue with some of these and
I think that's a great idea personally, because I had noticed that myself that the not today, but when I
Yeah.
was looking to see when was the last time we said what our legislative priorities are, not necessarily resolutions. And this,
Right.
we could also advocate in here for the school impact fees and for full fiscal authority, which I think would be a good thing to have a statement on that.
yeah, let's do that. Let's,
So we could do that at our next meeting.
okay,
So, okay, that can be an agenda item.
Okay.
Let me. Do you have any comments or additional comments, Rachel?
Yes, ma'am. I was just going to say that I think that when we do go through this, as this one mentions specific legislation, I think that was pending at the time. Perhaps we need to do a revisit of that legislation to see where they are and any others that we may want to advocate for or against. So just to make it much more comprehensive.
Sounds good. David.
Yeah, Rachel, you had something last year that we said we'd push it off to this year.
Yes, sir. That I just take issue with let me pull it up here. It's one of the resolutions, and it's the one in regard to tuition tax credits and vouchers. And the language, it looks like it was perhaps changed last year. And I have not done a line by line comparison. It looks like they changed it or revised it in 2021. So I would need to take last year's version and this year's version and do a line by line comparison to see what exactly they changed in their rationale and things like that. It had to do with the one of the special needs tax credit scholarship programs. And I believe Wendy looked into determining whether or not SCSBA was against that program. So that's still hanging out there, I guess, if you will.
I have the resolution that
Yep.
they have submitted. It's on screen right now.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is different though from the one that we looked at last year. I think maybe they clarified or changed some things. I'm not sure. I just note that I remember last year when we discussed it, it hadn't been changed. The only adopted date was 2014. So it looks like there has been a change as of the last year to it.
2021 is added to it,
Yes, ma'am.
whatever it was.
So I'm not sure what language has changed there, but I would like to take a look and to see how it changed.
I may have that also in my files, but I don't know off the top of my head. Okay. All right. So these are some of agenda items for our next meeting.
I have update legislative letter, see what what legislations have passed to go for or against, and then take a look at the language under tuition tax credit and vouchers.
Exactly. So can you go back to your agenda again, Robin? Thank you.
Let's see.
Okay. We just did our topics for our next meeting. And another thing we should decide is how about trying to decide on the date of the next meeting while we have everyone on here, except for Angela. We haven't had really a specific day of the month, no.
No,
So
it was as needed.
As needed,
As
yeah.
needed.
Dr. Wise, before we do that, do you
Yeah.
by chance, do we need a motion to bring to the full board the wording that you just gave us for the addition to the resolution?
yeah, I guess that's, it seemed like you both were in agreement, so we can vote.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if we needed to, because you're going to bring this to the full board, right?
Right.
Okay.
And
All right,
let's see, let me go back. I have to go back into it's hard for me to toggle, but I will try here.
And I don't know if it has to be that formal. It doesn't, I mean, I definitely agreed with it, but I didn't know if you wanted a formal
Yeah.
recommendation to recommend to the full board to approve this for the SC, SBA, legislative resolutions.
Do you have any comments, Rachel?
No, ma'am, I'm fine either way.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So we are the three of us. Is anybody opposed to the way it is? No, we're in agreement. This is the idea that we've been floating for a while. Okay.
Yeah,
So
okay.
so do you want to make a motion then, Tricia? We'll make it formal.
Okay.
Motion to send recommended language to the full board.
Sounds good. Does that meet?
Yeah.
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 Recommended language about equity with charter school hiring practices or something,
Sounds great.
Charter school.
hiring practices.
Hiring practices, got it.
Okay.
Motion to send recommended language about equity with charter schools hiring practices to full board.
Yes.
Okay. And Rachel, you are seconding that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And any further discussion?
Oh, sorry,
That's okay.
kind of jumped the gun.
And I go to equity. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right. So then we can say to the full board, this was approved unanimously, although we had one member absent. Okay. So let's look into our next meeting, in June. So around mid-June or so. Does anybody have a recommendation for what is good or not good, or?
What about the 15th?
That is a Wednesday. That's great for me.
For me,
Yeah, I think that could work.
4 o'clock.
That works.
Sounds good. And let's make it hybrid, so we can attend in person. And Wendy, does that work for you?
oh, yes, it works for me.
Okay.
I have Wednesday, the 15th at 4 o'clock.
All right. So this is to Wendy and Tricia and Rachel and the board and David and Earl. Do you think it would be of any benefit to have, I'm just thinking aloud right now, to have Lynn, our lobbyist there?
Yeah, I think so. I
Yes.
think that'd be a good idea.
Okay, so let's invite her. Robin, can you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, I just think because she'll have some ideas with our discussion. Wish I had thought of it for today's meeting, but we didn't have much headway or whatever we say before this meeting. All right, so our next meeting of the Legislative Committee will be on Wednesday, June 15th at 4 p.m. and it will be at the district office and by video conferencing for those that wouldn't be able to make it in person. And we'll be inviting our lobbyist, Lynn Stokes Murray. So I don't think we have any further business. Any further business from anyone?
No, ma'am.
No, thank you.
And okay. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Okay. Thank you. All in
Thank
favor?
you.
Aye. Great.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.